I had a wife who was gentle and considerate, who made me breakfast every morning, who would always smile in front of our friends and say, "My husband is the best." But one night, 3 years into our marriage, I received a photo that felt like it was burning a hole in my hand. In it, she was lying naked on her side on a hotel bed, and the hand of her first love was resting on her shoulder, covering a butterfly tattoo I had never seen. That tattoo, it was like a memento etched onto her skin just for him. She was even lying on that very bed when she called me, her voice a soft coo. "Honey, what are you doing?" After we hung up, I just stood there outside the door to room 1208, listening to the stifled laughter and heavy breathing from within. And in that moment, I realized what a joke our 3-year marriage had been. And yet, she could still come home, tie on her apron as if nothing had happened, and start simmering my favorite bolognese sauce, all shattered by the one question I finally asked. "Miriam, when did you get that tattoo on your shoulder?" I walked out of the hotel room. The freshly taken photograph felt like it was scorching my palm. One of the people in the picture was Miriam, my wife of 3 years. The other man was her first love, Edward Vance. "Are you all right, Mr. Wright?" my assistant, Leo, asked cautiously. He was watching the color drain completely from my face. I didn't say a word, my eyes glued to the phone screen. There, on Miriam's smooth back, just below her shoulder blade, was a tattoo I had never seen before. It was a small butterfly. 3 years. We had been married for 3 whole years. And I never knew my wife had a tattoo. "Mr. Wright, should I?" "No," I cut Leo off. "You can go home." I was left standing alone in the hallway, but my mind was replaying the scene from that afternoon over and over. Miriam had told me she was having a sleepover at her best friend's house tonight. She had kissed my cheek gently on her way out the door. "Honey, I'll be back bright and early to make you breakfast," she'd said. Her eyes were so sincere when she lied. My phone vibrated. It was Miriam calling. "Honey, what are you doing?" she asked, her voice a little breathless, yet the background was unnervingly silent. I lifted my gaze to the door across the hall, room 1208. "Still at the office," I said, "pulling a late night to get some work done." "What about you?" "Watching a movie at Chloe's." "I just got out of the shower," Miriam lied without a moment's hesitation. "Don't work too late. Make sure you get some rest." "Okay, you too," I replied. After hanging up, I opened the picture again. In the photo, Miriam was on her side, and Edward's hand was draped over her shoulder, perfectly covering the spot where the butterfly tattoo was. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I would have gone my whole life without knowing what my wife was doing behind my back. When I got home, Miriam was already in the kitchen, bustling around. "Honey, you're home," she said, turning to give me a sweet smile. "I'm making your favorite spaghetti bolognese. I even made the sauce from scratch." I just stared at her. The woman who had shared my bed for 3 years suddenly felt like a complete stranger. "Miriam," I asked, "when did you get that tattoo on your shoulder?" The spatula in her hand stopped moving. With her back still to me, she was silent for a few long seconds. "What tattoo?" She turned around, her face a mask of pure confusion, as if she had no idea what I was talking about. "I don't have any tattoos." "Really?" I took a step closer. "I guess my eyes were playing tricks on me." "You must have been mistaken," Miriam said, seizing the moment to gently touch my face. "Honey, have you been working too hard lately? Maybe we should take a vacation, just to relax a little." I took her hand in mine. The warmth of her skin felt both real and painfully false. "Sure," I said, "wherever you want to go." Miriam stood on her toes and pressed a light kiss to my lips. "Anywhere you want," she murmured. For a split second, I almost believed she really did love me. That is, until I saw her phone light up on the sofa. A new message notification appeared on the screen. It was from Edward, the usual spot. "Tonight, I miss you." Miriam rushed over and grabbed the phone. "It's just a work message from Chloe," she blurted out immediately. "Chloe," I laughed. "Since when does she go by Edward?" The color drained from Miriam's face. "Joey, please let me explain." "Explain what?" I asked, sitting down on the sofa. "Explain why you've been lying to me this whole time, or explain how you got tangled up with Edward again." Miriam's legs gave out, and she sank to the floor. Tears began to stream down her face. "Joey, it's not what you think," she cried, struggling to catch her breath. I handed her a tissue. "Crying isn't going to fix this." "I never wanted to betray you," Miriam sobbed. "It was Edward. He started contacting me as soon as he got back in the country. I tried to say no, I really did, but what? But I realized I still have feelings for him," Miriam whispered, her head bowed, her voice almost inaudible. "Joey, this has been tearing me apart, too. I've been in agony," she said. "I never wanted to hurt you, but I can't lie to my own heart." I just looked at her. The woman who had betrayed me, now making excuses for her actions. "So, you were trying to have it both ways? Is that it?" "No." Miriam shook her head frantically. "I was just what? Just hadn't made up your mind about who to choose." I asked, getting to my feet. "Is that it?" "Miriam, I want a divorce." "No," she cried, grabbing onto my legs. "Joey, I can cut Edward out of my life completely. We can start over, please?" I looked down at her, feeling nothing but a cold, hollow space inside my chest. "It's too late." The next day, I went to the office as usual. Miriam sent me screen after screen of messages and called me again and again. I ignored every single one. That afternoon, she showed up right in front of my office building. Joey, come down here. We need to talk. I looked down from the floor-to-ceiling windows of my office. Miriam was standing at the main entrance, a small crowd of curious onlookers already gathering around her. Mr. Wright, would you like me to handle that? My secretary, Sarah, asked tentatively. No, I said, grabbing my suit jacket. I'll go down myself. The moment Miriam saw me, she rushed forward and threw her arms around me. Honey, you finally came down to see me. Let go of me, I said, pushing her away. We could talk about this at home. No, Miriam said, gripping my arm tightly. You won't answer my texts or my calls. I had no choice but to come find you at work. The crowd was growing, and I had no intention of letting my private life become the afternoon's entertainment for the entire office. Get in the car. Miriam immediately followed me into the car, her obedience a stark contrast to the hysterical woman from moments before. The second the car door shut, she started trying to explain. Joey, I swear, I know I was wrong, she said. I've deleted all of Edward's contact information. I'll never see him again. And then what? And then we can start over, just like before, Miriam said, reaching for my hand. I swear, I will never, ever betray you again. I studied her face. Miriam, do you take me for a fool? What's that supposed to mean? She asked, taken aback. I'm going to ask you one more time. When did this start? Miriam hesitated for a couple of seconds. Just recently. How recent? A month ago. And when did Edward get back in the country? 3 months ago. I let out a short, cold, sarcastic laugh. So you'd already been seeing each other for 2 months before things officially started. Is that it? Miriam's face went pale again. You're still not telling me the truth. What makes you think we have any right to talk about starting over? Joey. Miriam's voice rose, her body tensing up. Fine, I'll tell you everything. He started contacting me the moment he got back. The first time we met, you slept together, I finished for her. Miriam nodded, a fresh wave of tears rolling down her face. I'm so sorry, Joey. I'm so sorry. How many times have you seen him in the last 3 months? I've lost count. Lost count. I scoffed. Sounds like you two had a wonderful time. Joey, I know you're furious, Miriam said desperately, but our marriage is real, too. My love for you has never changed. Love? I slammed on the brakes, pulling the car over to the side of the road. Miriam, do you even know what love means? Love is exclusive. It's loyalty. It's respect. Each word I spoke was as cold and sharp as a blade. And what have you given me? Betrayal, lies, and a truth that makes me sick to my stomach. Every word I said landed like a punch, and she started crying even harder. Joey, I'm begging you, she sobbed. Please, just give me one more chance. A chance. I looked at her. Did it ever occur to you that the moment you decided to cheat on me, our marriage was already over? It's not over, she said, shaking her head frantically. We can fix this. We can start again. Start over. I hit the button to unlock the doors. Miriam, get out. I'm not getting out. Then I'll drag you out myself. Seeing the cold rage in my eyes, Miriam knew I wasn't bluffing. She slowly pushed the door open and got out, standing on the curb and watching me. Joey, are you really just going to leave me here? I didn't answer. I just hit the gas and drove away. In my rearview mirror, I saw her standing alone on the sidewalk like an abandoned child. I felt not a single shred of pity. Betrayal is betrayal. There are no reasons and there are no excuses. Back at the apartment, I started packing Miriam's things. After 3 years of marriage, her belongings filled more than a dozen boxes. Every single item, once a testament to our happiness, now just served as a reminder of how fake it had all been. I stacked all the boxes neatly in the living room and sent Miriam a text. Your things are in the living room. Come get them tomorrow. She replied almost instantly. Honey, can't we please just try one more time? Can we start over? I stared at her words, but all I could see was her in that hotel room and the look on her face as she lied to me so effortlessly. No, after sending the text, I blocked her number. The next day, Miriam showed up with Edward and another friend to get her things. I made a point of staying home. I wanted to see for myself what this man looked like. He was a little taller than me, dressed in an expensive, well-tailored suit. He radiated an aura of success. Joey, I'm sorry, Edward said the moment he saw me. This is all my fault. I shouldn't have. Shut up, I interrupted. I'm not interested in your excuses. Edward paused, glancing over at Miriam. Miriam, why don't you start taking these boxes down, he said. I'd like to have a word with Mr. Right alone. There's nothing to talk about, I said flatly from the sofa. Get your things and get out of my apartment. Miriam began to move the boxes, and Edward helped her, the two of them working together with the easy coordination of a long-term couple. The sight of it made my stomach turn. Joey, you were always good to her, Edward said suddenly. Miriam told me about the life you two had. I know you're a good man, which is why I want you to know that I'll take good care of her from now on. He looked me right in the eye. I'll make sure she's happy. I laughed. Do you think a woman you stole from someone else can never be happy? What Miriam and I have is real love, Edward said with a frown. Real love. I got my feet. Edward, what do you know about real love? Real love is about waiting, about commitment, about loyalty, I said, walking slowly towards him. So what is it that you two have demonstrated? Betrayal, deception, and a level of filth that disgusts me. Edward's expression darkened. Mr. Wright, I know you're angry, but when it comes to feelings, the sharp crack of my hand hitting his face echoed through the living room. Joey, Miriam screamed, rushing toward us. What are you doing? I shoved her aside and pointed at Edward. You remember that, I said. That wasn't for her. That was because the very sight of you disgusts me. Edward clutched his face, a flash of fury in his eyes. Joey, don't take this too far. Too far, I sneered. I'm just getting started. What does that mean? Miriam asked, her voice trembling. You'll find out soon enough. That night, I made a call to a private investigator I knew. Mike, I need you to look into someone for me. Who is it? Edward Vance. Just came back from overseas, supposedly works in finance. What do you want to know about him? Everything you can possibly find on him. Dig it all up. I paused, then added, money is no object. All right, give me a week. After I hung up, I opened my laptop and started outlining my plan for revenge, step by step. Miriam probably thought this was the end of it. She couldn't have been more wrong. Betrayal has consequences. She chose to destroy our marriage, so she had no one to blame but herself for what I was about to do. I started by contacting a few friends in the media, then made some calls to business acquaintances. Miriam was a marketing director at a multinational corporation, and Edward was an investor. I was going to personally teach them the meaning of total social and professional ruin. The next day, I went straight to Miriam's office. Mr. Wright, what are you doing here? One of Miriam's colleagues, Kevin, recognized me. Miriam's in a meeting right now. I'll wait. Half an hour later, the conference room door opened. Miriam walked out, saw me, and froze on the spot. Joey, what are you doing here? Just wanted to see my ex-wife's work environment, I said, making sure to enunciate the words ex-wife clearly, my voice just loud enough to carry across the open plan office. The term ex-wife shattered the quiet of the office. Miriam's face went pale as a sheet as heads popped up from cubicles all around her. Joey, don't make a scene here, she hissed through clenched teeth. I'm not making a scene, I said with a small smile. I just wanted to share some good news with everyone. What good news? One of her co-workers asked. Miriam is getting married, I announced. To her first love, Mr. Edward Vance. The office fell dead silent. Joey, Miriam was visibly panicked. Stop talking nonsense. Nonsense. I held up my phone and gave a little shake. Should I show everyone the pictures? Miriam's face was ghostly white. She looked like she was about to faint. She knew I wasn't making an empty threat. Joey, what is it that you want? I want to wish the two of you a lifetime of happiness, I said, raising my voice intentionally. May you grow old together, happily ever after. With that, I turned and walked away. Behind me, I could hear Miriam begin to sob, followed by the explosion of hushed whispers from her co-workers. And this was only the beginning. A week later, Mike sent me the investigation report. Edward had indeed just returned from overseas, but his supposed investment firm was a complete shell company with no actual business. More importantly, he had a wife and child back in London. I stared at the report and let out a cold, bitter laugh. Miriam, I thought to myself, your taste in men is as excellent as ever. I immediately sent her a text. Viceroy Hotel, room 1208. Tomorrow at 8 p.m. We need to talk. Her reply was fast. Joey, what are you planning? You'll find out when you get here. The next night, Miriam arrived at the hotel right on time. I was already waiting for her in the room. Joey, what did you want to see me about? She asked, her voice laced with anxiety. Sit down, I said, gesturing to the sofa. Let's have a nice long talk. Miriam sat, her eyes fixed on me nervously. Did you know that Edward has a wife and a child in London? The color vanished from her face. What did you say? I guess you didn't know, I said, pushing a folder across the table toward her. See for yourself. Her hands trembled as she flipped through the pages. With every photo, every document she read, the color drained further from her face. This can't be real. Can't be? I scoffed. Their marriage certificate is right there. Are you blind? Miriam sank back into the sofa, tears streaming down her cheeks. He lied to me, she whispered. He lied to me this whole time. How does it feel to be the one who gets cheated on? I asked from the chair opposite her. Miriam, tell me yourself. Was this man worth betraying me for? Joey, I don't know. You don't know what? I didn't know he was married, she cried, gasping for air. He told me he was single. He said he was going to marry me. I looked at her without a trace of pity. So what? I asked. What are you going to do now? Miriam stared blankly for a moment. I'm going to break up with him. Break up with him? I stood up. Miriam, you are so incredibly naive. What's that supposed to mean? Do you really think that breaking up with him just ends all of this? I said, walking to the window. Do you think that suddenly makes me forgive you? Miriam fell silent. Joey, I know I was wrong, she said through her tears. I know I hurt you, but is there really no chance for us? Can't we try one more time? No, I said, said, turning back to face her. Miriam, once you do something like this, there's no going back. There are no do-overs. Then what do you want from me? I want you to pay the price. I smiled. You'll find out soon enough. I took out my phone and started the voice recorder app. Miriam, I have some questions and you're going to answer them. What kind of questions? How many times did you and Edward sleep together? Miriam's face flushed deep red. Joey, why are you asking me this? Answer me. I lost count. You lost count. I sneered. Phoenix. Next question. Where was your favorite place to meet? Joey, what are you doing? I want the truth, I said, sitting back down. Miriam, you have two choices. What are they? 1. You answer every single one of my questions honestly, and I promise this recording will never leave this room. And the second choice. 2. I send the pictures of you and him in this hotel to every single one of your coworkers, including your boss. The color drained from Miriam's face, leaving it a sickly white. Joey, you can't do that. Why can't I? Because my career will be over. It'll be over. I laughed. Miriam, when you chose to betray me, did you ever stop to think that you were destroying me? She opened her mouth, but no words came out. Fine, she whispered. I'll answer. For the next hour, Miriam answered every one of my questions with a clarity that bordered on humiliating. The place they first met, the date they first slept together, the time and location of every encounter, and exactly what they did. I recorded every last word. Joey, I've told you everything, she finally said. Can you please what? Please don't send out those pictures. I looked at this woman, still pleading with me. Miriam, I'm a man of my word. I won't send the pictures. She let out a long, shaky breath of relief. But what? I want you to go to your office, stand in front of all your coworkers, and admit that you had an affair. What? Miriam stared at me, her eyes wide with disbelief. You want me to confess this at my office? Yes. No way, she said, shaking her head violently. How could I ever face anyone there again? Then you can quit. Joey, you can't do this to me. Can I? I said, standing up. Miriam, it's your only option. And if I don't, then I will send the recording, along with the photos, to every single person at your company. Miriam knew it wasn't an empty threat. All right, she finally said. I'll do it tomorrow afternoon. She nodded, tears starting to fall once more. I watched her, my heart as cold and hard as a stone. This was the price of betrayal. The next day at 5 in the afternoon, I arrived on Miriam's floor at her office. She was already waiting for me, her face pale and drawn. She looked exhausted. Joey, you came. I'm here. I nodded. Are you ready? Miriam hesitated. Can I just tell you alone? No, I said, shaking my head. You have to do it in front of everyone. Miriam bit her lower lip, then turned and walked into the middle of the open plan office. Excuse me, everyone, Miriam began, her voice trembling. Could I have your attention for a moment? I have something I need to say. The tapping of keyboards slowly died down as people looked up from their screens. During my marriage, I had an affair, Miriam said, her voice barely a whisper. I was unfaithful to my husband. You could have heard a pin drop in the sudden silence that filled the office. What? Someone finally asked. Miriam, what did you just say? I said I had an affair, she repeated, her voice louder this time. I betrayed my husband. I was an unfaithful wife. A low buzz of conversation immediately spread through the office. Oh my God, I never would have guessed. She always seemed so professional. You just never know about people. Listening to the whispers, Miriam's face grew paler with every second that passed. Miriam, I said, walking up beside her. Anything else you'd like to add? I also want to apologize to all of you, she said, her voice thick with emotion. I betrayed your trust. That's enough, I said, patting her on the shoulder. You can go now. As if she'd been pardoned, Miriam practically fled from the office. I stayed where I was, looking at the stunned faces of her coworkers. Mr. Wright, I'm so sorry, her colleague Kevin said, approaching me. We had no idea any of this was going on. It's all right, I said with a small smile. It's certainly not your fault. Are you doing okay? I'm doing fine, I said, checking my watch. I should be going. Of course, Mr. Wright. Take care. As I walked out of the building, I saw Miriam sitting by herself on the front steps, wiping tears from her eyes. Miriam, I said, walking over to her. Who are you crying for? Are you happy now, Joey? She asked, looking up at me, her eyes red and raw. I can never go back to that office again. You got what you deserved. I know it was my fault. I know I was wrong, she said, but you didn't have to humiliate me in front of everyone like that. Humiliate you? I scoffed. Miriam, do you want to know what real humiliation feels like? Humiliation is suddenly discovering that the woman sleeping next to you in your own bed has been sleeping with another man. I said, my voice low and dangerous. Humiliation is being lied to for 3 months straight, being played for an absolute fool. Miriam couldn't say a word in her own defense. Joey, can't we just for the last time try to start over? No, I turned to leave. Miriam, don't contact me again. Wait, she called after me. I just want to ask you one more question. What is it? When did you find out? 3 months ago. Miriam froze. 3 months ago? Then why didn't you say anything? Because I wanted to see how long you could keep up the act, I said, looking back at her. And I have to admit, Miriam, you're a damn good actress. What is that supposed to mean? Coming home every day to cook for me, watching TV with me, sleeping with me, I sneered. All while you were cheating on me behind my back, pretending to be the perfect, loving wife. Do you have any idea? I cut her off. How disgusting those 3 months were for me? They were the worst months of my entire life. Miriam's face was ashen. Joey, I really did love you. Love love me. I laughed. Miriam, you don't even know what that word means. I didn't give her a second glance as I turned and walked away. Her sobbing faded behind me, but I felt absolutely no compassion. Betrayers don't deserve sympathy. Back in my office, a cold but deeply satisfying feeling washed over me. The public humiliation at her office was only the first part of Miriam's punishment. There was more to come. That afternoon, I got a call. Mr. Wright, this is Jake from the Chicago Chronicle. I was hoping to confirm a story with you. What's it about? It's about the recent breakup of your marriage. Who told you I was getting a divorce? I asked with a small smile. Well, we received a tip that your wife was involved in an extramarital affair and that you've already started divorce proceedings. Oh, I feigned mild surprise. And who was your source? I can't reveal that, of course, but we were hoping to get a statement from you. Of course, I said. Jake, I'll give you an exclusive interview. That's fantastic. It'll be a good time for you. This afternoon works. As I hung up the phone, a cold smile touched my lips. Jake and I were old friends from college. I was the one who had given him the tip yesterday. That afternoon, Jake and a photographer arrived at my office right on schedule. Joey, thanks for agreeing to the interview, he said, adopting a professional tone. No problem, I said, straightening my tie. Let's get started. Mr. Wright, regarding your current marital status with Ms. Miriam Thompson, could you please give us a statement? We're divorced. And the reason for the divorce? She had an affair, I said calmly. She was in a 3-month-long affair during our marriage. When did you discover this? I hired a private investigator. And what was your reaction when you found out the truth? Anger, disappointment, and disgust. I said, speaking each word clearly. I never imagined that the woman I had spent 3 years of my life with could betray me like that. What do you plan to do now? Move on with my life, I said, looking directly into the camera. I still believe that there are loyal women in this world. Do you have anything you'd like to say to those who are unfaithful in their marriages? Be dull. Betrayal has consequences, I said with a cold smile. And also, never, ever take a man for a fool. All right, thank you for your time, Mr. Wright. After the official interview was over, Jake lowered his voice. Joey, are you sure you want to go through with this? What do you mean? I'm just saying, isn't this a little too harsh on Miriam? Harsh on her? I sneered. When she was sleeping with another man, did she worry about being harsh on me? But she was still your... Jake, don't, I interrupted. It's a free press. You know that better than anyone. Okay. Jake nodded. I'll do my best to keep the report objective. I appreciate it. That evening, the interview was the headline story on the Chicago Chronicle's website. The headline was bold and clear. Prominent Chicago executive Joey Wright speaks on wife's infidelity. Betrayal has consequences. The article detailed the timeline of our marriage and the story of her affair. Although it didn't use Miriam's full name, anyone who knew us would know exactly who it was talking about. The next day, my phone was ringing off the hook. Friends called to offer sympathy. Other reporters called asking for interviews. And strangers left messages of support. You're so brave, Mr. Wright. Why are women like that these days? You need to stay strong. I responded to each message politely, putting on a show of gratitude. But in my heart, I knew this was only the beginning. Life was about to get much, much harder for Miriam. Around noon, I got a call from an unknown number. It was Miriam. Joey, this was you, wasn't it? She demanded, her voice shaking with suppressed rage. What was me? That article in the Chronicle. Oh, that, I said with a little laugh. A reporter asked for an interview, so I gave him one. Why would you do an interview? Why not? Joey, you're trying to destroy my life. Destroy your life? I laughed coldly. Miriam, didn't you already destroy your own life? I just told people the truth. I cut in. Is there something wrong with that? Miriam was so angry she was speechless. Miriam, this is just the beginning, I warned. If you ever bother me again, I'll make things much, much worse for you. Joey, you can't treat me like this. Not only can I said coldly, I'm going to... I hung up the phone, a vicious sort of satisfaction rising inside me. Miriam, your punishment has only just begun. A week later, I had an unexpected visitor. Edward Vance. Joey, we need to talk, he said, sitting in my office, his face grim. About what? About Miriam. What about her? She's a complete wreck. She lost her job. She's falling apart. Edward looked at me, his voice pleading. Joey, can't you just let this go? For her sake, let her go. I laughed. Edward, what on earth makes you think I would do that? Because she knows she was wrong. She knows she was wrong? I sneered. What exactly does she know? She knows she shouldn't have been unfaithful to you. And what about you? I stared at him. Do you know you shouldn't be seducing other men's wives? A faint blush crept up Edward's neck. You what? I stood up. Edward, what right do you have to come in here and ask me for a single thing? I know I'm also to blame for this. To blame, I said, walking slowly towards him. Oh, you're to blame for more than just this. What's that supposed to mean? Should we factor in the wife and child you have back in London? The color drained from Edward's face. How did you know about that? Of course I know, I said, a cold smile spreading across my face. Edward, did you really think you could keep that a secret forever? You didn't just lie to Miriam. You lied to me. Every word was a hammer blow. The two of you are nothing but a pair of liars. Edward was silent for a long moment. Joey, I admit, there are some things I wasn't honest about. Some things... I snorted. You have a wife and child, but you're sleeping with another man's wife. You call that some things? Edward, do you have any idea what kind of state Miriam is in right now? What do you mean? She's about to have a complete breakdown. Because she found out the man she destroyed her marriage for is was nothing but a married liar. I stared at him. Do you think she's going to forgive you for that? Edward's face grew even paler. Joey, I could divorce my wife. I can't. I can marry Miriam. Marry Miriam? I laughed. Edward, do you honestly think she would still want you now? Even if she did, I would never let the two of you be together. Why not? Because both of you need to pay for what you did. I sat back down in my chair. Edward, you hurt me. There are consequences for that. What consequences? You'll find out soon enough. Edward looked at me, and I saw a flicker of fear in his eyes. Joey, don't take this too far. Too far? I sneered. Edward, do you even know what too far is? Too far is the two of you meeting behind my back, sleeping together for 3 months, all while pretending to my face that everything was normal. Too far is treating me like an idiot. For once, Edward had nothing to say. Joey, we can compensate you. Compensate me? I looked at him. With what? Money. Money. I laughed out loud. Edward, do I look like I'm short on cash? Then what do you want? I want both of you to pay for what you've done. And what is that? Your reputations, your careers, your futures. I said coldly. I'm going to make you understand that betrayal has consequences. Edward's face was a mask of gray. Joey, you can't do this. I can't. I stood again. Edward, you're the one who chose this path. But there are no buts. I cut him off. You chose to betray me. Now you have to face the consequences. Joey, I'm begging you. Suddenly, Edward dropped to his knees on the floor. Please, just leave Miriam out of this. I looked down at the man kneeling on my office floor and felt nothing. So now you're begging, Edward? I know I was wrong. Wrong. I sneered. What exactly were you wrong about? I shouldn't have gone after Miriam. And I shouldn't have hidden the fact that I was married. Anything else? I don't know. Your biggest mistake, I said, looking down at him, was hurting me. And for that, there is no forgiveness. Joey, I'll do anything to make it up to you. Anything. I smiled. Are you sure about that? Edward, I'm sure. Good, I said, pulling out my phone. Then I'm going to call your wife right now and tell her every single thing you've been up to here in Chicago. No. Edward looked up, his eyes wide with terror. Joey, you can't do that. Why not? Because it will destroy my family. Destroy your family? I sneered as I started to dial. Did you ever think about how you were destroying mine? Edward was speechless. This is what you call payback. Edward, I said as the phone began to ring. You hurt me. Now it's your turn to see how it feels. It wasn't long before Edward's wife knew everything. She booked the next flight from London and, as soon as her plane landed, went straight to the apartment Edward was renting. My private investigator told me the fight they had that day was explosive. Edward's wife demanded a divorce right then and there. You bastard. The report quoted her as screaming. I'm raising our son by myself in London while you're over here sleeping with other women. Honey, please, let me explain. Explain what? Apparently, she grabbed the nearest vase and threw it at him. We've been married for 5 years. Is this what I mean to you? She demanded. I didn't mean for this to happen. You didn't mean for it to happen? She sneered. Edward, do you think I'm an idiot? I really do love you. Love me? She laughed. If you loved me, would you be sleeping with another man's wife? Edward had no response. I want a divorce, she said coldly. I'm taking our son, and you can get out of my life. No. Edward dropped to his knees in front of her, grabbing her legs. Please, just give me one more chance. A chance? She kicked him away. Edward, you've already used up all your chances. First thing the next morning, she hired a lawyer and officially filed for divorce. Meanwhile, Miriam's life continued to spiral out of control. She was fired from her job, and I heard she was spending her days at home, drinking herself into a stupor. A mutual friend told me she was a completely different person, a shadow of the ambitious, successful director she used to be. Are you happy now, Joey? Miriam's drunken voice slurred over the phone. I've lost everything. I have nothing left. This is what you deserve. I know I was wrong, she cried, her words a jumbled mess. But you didn't have to. You shouldn't have done this to me. I can't even find a job. And Joey, please just stop torturing me. Torturing you? I scoffed. Miriam, do you want to know what real torture feels like? Torture is lying in bed every single night, unable to get the images of you and him out of my head. I said, my voice cold as steel. Torture is knowing you were lying straight to my face day after day and having to pretend I didn't know a thing. Joey, Miriam just sobbed harder. I really do know I was wrong. And what good does that do? I can change. Change. I laughed. Miriam, do people who cheat ever really change? I can. You can't, I said coldly. Once a cheater, always a cheater. Joey, you can't be this cruel. Yes, I can. I hung up the phone. A few days later, I heard some news. For me, it was good news. Edward's investment firm was raided and shut down by the FBI. The investigation revealed he'd been running a Ponzi scheme. He was now the target of a major federal investigation. Joey, the guy is in some serious trouble. My friend Ben told me over drinks. Looks like he's going to prison. Really? I asked, feigning surprise. What happened? Turns out the company was a complete sham, Ben said. He was just running a scheme to defraud investors. Dozens of victims have already come forward. So what's happening with him now? He's in federal custody. A surge of pure elation went through me, but I kept my expression one of polite concern. You just never know about people, I guess. I sighed, maintaining a look of perfect pity. Ben agreed. The guy looked so respectable, always in a suit. You'd never think he was a total fraud. And what about Miriam? I asked, as if it were an afterthought. I hear she's completely fallen apart, Ben said, shaking his head. Cries all day. She's like a different person. Buddy, maybe it's time to ease up. Ease up, I scoffed. Ben, do you really think I should show her any mercy? You were married, after all. Married? I laughed. Does someone who betrays you like that even deserve to be called your wife? Ben looked at me, a flicker of concern in his eyes. Joey, don't take this too far. Too far, I scoffed. Ben, you've never been betrayed like this. You have no idea what it feels like. But everything you're doing now, isn't it a bit much? Too much. I stood up. When she was sneaking around with another man, did she ever stop to think if she was going too far? Ben went quiet. I'm just worried you'll regret this later. Regret it? I looked at him. Ben, I will never, ever regret this. A month later, Edward Vance was sentenced to 3 years in federal prison. In the courtroom, Miriam broke down completely, sobbing uncontrollably. No one felt any sympathy for her. You fraud. One of the defrauded investors in the gallery screamed at Edward. You took all of our money. I'll pay it back. Edward mumbled, his head bowed. Pay it back, the man scoffed. With what? Edward opened his mouth, but couldn't form a reply. The judge read the sentence. On multiple counts of wire fraud, the defendant is sentenced to 3 years in federal prison. The moment the sentence was read, Miriam fainted. I sat in the gallery watching it all happen, a cold, dark satisfaction rising within me. This was the price of betrayal. After Edward was led away, Miriam sat alone on a bench outside the courtroom, her shoulders shaking as she wept. Miriam, I said, walking over to her. How does it feel? Joey, you're here, she said, looking up at me with red, swollen eyes. I came to see how this all ends for you. How it ends, Miriam repeated with a bitter laugh. Yes, this is how it ends. Do you regret it? Yes, she nodded. I regret everything. What do you regret? I regret ever meeting Edward. I regret betraying you for him. Anything else? I regret not cherishing our marriage when I had the chance. I looked at her and felt absolutely nothing. Miriam, is there any point in saying all this now? I know it's pointless, she choked out, but I still need to say it. Say what? I'm sorry. I scoffed. Miriam, do you really think saying you're sorry can just wipe everything away? I know it can't, she said, looking at me, but I have to say it anyway. Then say it. Joey, I'm sorry. I was wrong. Suddenly, Miriam knelt down in front of me. I shouldn't have betrayed you, and I never should have hurt you, and I shouldn't have lied to you. I shouldn't have kept it from you. Is that all? I don't know what else. Your biggest mistake, I said, was ever coming into my life at all. I looked down at her on the ground. Miriam, you completely destroyed my faith in marriage. Joey, please don't say that. I turned to walk away. Miriam, this is the last time we'll ever see each other. Wait, she called out. I just want to ask you one more thing. What is it? Do you still hate me? I looked back at her and thought for a moment. No, I don't. Really? Yes, I nodded. Miriam, right now, I just feel sorry for you. You're pathetic. Pathetic. Yes, pathetic, I sneered. You threw away your job, your reputation, and your future for a fraud. The color drained from Miriam's face. Joey, I cut her off. Miriam, this is the path you chose. I know. She whispered, her head bowed. I know this is what I deserve. Good, as long as you know. I turned and walked away. Take care of yourself, Miriam. Behind me, I could hear her choked sobs, but I didn't look back. A betrayer isn't worthy of pity. 6 months later, I started dating again. Her name was Lily, and she was a kind and gentle woman I met at a friend's party. Her smile was so warm. For a moment, it reminded me of the flutter I felt with my first love. You look tired, Joey, Lily said, looking at me with genuine concern. Work has just been a little busy, I said with a smile. It's nothing. Do you want to go find somewhere quieter to sit? Sure. We found a coffee shop nearby and took a table in the corner. A friend mentioned you went through a divorce recently. Lily asked carefully. Yeah, I nodded. But that's all in the past now. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have brought it up. It's okay, I said, looking at her. You're very kind. Kind? Lily smiled. I didn't want to upset you. Upset? I shook my head. I'm not upset about it anymore. Really? Really? I said sincerely. Lily, everything that happened is in the past. I just want to look forward now. I'm relieved to hear you say that, Lily said, visibly relaxing. My biggest fear is meeting a man who can't let go of his past. Why is that? Because a man like that tends to project all the mistakes his last partner made onto the next one, Lily said seriously. And that's not fair to the new person at all. I looked at her, feeling a sense of connection I couldn't quite name. Lily, I promise you, I won't be like that. You promise? I promise, I said, taking her hand. With you, it's a completely fresh start. Lily's smile was as bright as sunshine. Then let's give this a try, okay? From that day on, Lily and I were officially together. She was kind and thoughtful, and she never asked about my past. I cherished our new relationship and did my best to be a better man for her. One day, while Lily and I were out shopping, we ran into Miriam. She was rail thin, dressed in old clothes, her hair unkempt. Joe, she said, stopping short when she saw us. Miriam, I nodded. How have you been? Okay, she answered, her eyes a mix of complicated emotions. This is my girlfriend, Lily, I said. It's nice to meet you, Lily said, giving her a polite nod. I'm Miriam, she said with a forced smile. She's beautiful, Joey. Thanks, I said, looking at Miriam. What are you up to these days? I'm an office clerk at a small company, she said quietly. It doesn't pay much, but it's enough to get by. That's good. Joey, Miriam started, then hesitated. If you have something to say, you can say it. I just wanted to say I'm sorry one more time. time, she said, looking at me. And I hope you be happy. I will be, I nodded. You take care of yourself too, Miriam. I will. After we walked away, Lily asked, was it your ex-wife? Yeah, she seemed so sad. Sad, I asked, looking at Lily. Why do you say that? The look in her eyes, Lily said softly. It was like pure despair, like she's lost everything. I thought about it for a second. Lily, some pain is self-inflicted. What do you mean? She chose to betray me, I said seriously, and she had to live with the consequences of that choice. In this world, everyone has to take responsibility for their own decisions. I understand, Lily nodded. Joey, I will always cherish what we have. Me too, I said, squeezing her hand. Lily, I know we're going to be happy. I believe you. A year later, Lily and I were married. We had a beautiful wedding, and almost all of our friends and family were there. While I was on the stage giving my speech, I saw Miriam sitting in the very back row. She sat there quietly, her eyes fixed on me. Our eyes met for just a moment. She gave me a faint, apologetic smile, then stood up and slipped out without a sound. In that moment, I knew it would be the last time I ever saw her, and I never did see her again. I only heard about her occasionally through mutual acquaintances. They said she never remarried, that she lived alone. Some said she was atoning for her sins. Others said she had been so badly hurt that she could no longer bring herself to trust and love. But none of that had anything to do with me anymore. The important thing was that I had a new life and a new love. Miriam was just a chapter in my past. It was a painful experience, but one that forced me to grow. I'm happy now. I have a wife who truly loves me and a home that is filled with warmth. And everything that happened, including Miriam's betrayal, I have forgiven, because I understand that you can only truly embrace the future when you let go of the past. As for Miriam, she made her choice, and she bore the consequences. That's life. That is the price of the choices we make. I don't regret anything I did, because all I did was make her face the punishment she deserved. Now, we live our separate lives. I have my happiness, and she has her solitude. This is the price of betrayal. When we finish this story and close the final page, what lingers is not the thrill of revenge, but a heavy silence. We have walked with the narrator down a thorny path paved by betrayal, felt the searing heat of that photograph in his hand, and watched as he built a fortress of vengeance brick by cold, calculated brick. This is more than a story of infidelity and retaliation. It's a prism reflecting humanity's most fragile trust, its most primal pain, and the choices we make about how to rebuild from the ashes. The narrator chose a clear path, an eye for an eye, making the betrayer pay the price she deserved. Each of his steps was precise and powerful, ultimately leading to the complete collapse of her world. We might find a sliver of understanding in his resolve. When your world is shattered by the person closest to you, filling the void inside with their pain can feel like the most immediate form of comfort. But when the dust settles and the fires of vengeance burn out, what remains? The warmth of embers, or an even deeper, colder emptiness? This is the story's most profound question. Does destroying the person who hurt you truly heal yourself? At some point in our lives, any of us can experience a catastrophic loss of trust. It triggers a profound self-doubt that can feel like a negation of your entire past. In those moments, we hold two powers in our hands: the power to destroy and the power to rebuild. This story is a masterclass in the former. It shows that revenge can offer a temporary feeling of victory, but true peace only comes from the latter. Real strength may not lie in making someone pay for their mistakes forever, but in having the ability to stand in the wreckage, clear a patch of ground for yourself, and begin to plan anew, trusting that something beautiful can still grow. So, this story isn't a sermon on revenge, nor is it a plea for forgiveness. It simply peels back the layers of a wound to show us the true, heavy cost of betrayal. It not only destroys the one who erred, but also threatens to consume the good person you once were. It asks us to consider whether we will spend our future imprisoned by hateful memories as a flawless judge, or if we will carry our scars forward and bravely step into the sunlight. Because in the end, the greatest gift you can give yourself isn't someone else's repentance for the past, but your own hopeful future.